This is the Caboose Industries 208S ground throw. The S is very significant. That means it's spring loaded. As you can see, I can press this throw bar and it's spring loaded that way or this way. That's very important because if this wasn't spring loaded, we would have to install a spring between the switch's throw bar and the ground throw to get it to work correctly. I use a little trick with a couple of Q-tips to center up the point rails on the switch. And here's the way it works. Just slide the Q-tips up between the outer rails and the point rails so that they're perfectly centered, like that. So that the gap here and the gap here is just about the same. The next thing you do is take the Caboose Industries ground throw and turn the throw bar straight up like that. On one end of the throw bar, there's a little tip. See it right there? That tip has to locate right here in this hole on the throw bar for the track turnout. So just to see where this is going to go, let's just locate that tip in the hole. That's where it's going to rest on the ties on the track turnout. Now we need to anchor the ground throw onto the ties of the switch. Use some O-gauge railroad spikes and a pair of long nose pliers. And now I'm going to need a little help because at my age, you got to have the glasses. Much better. We'll steady up the ground throw and then we'll put the spike through the hole into the wood tie and then push it all the way down like that. Now we'll get another spike and do the other side. There we go. Should go in just that easy. Let's remove the Q-tips and let's test to make sure that we have a spring load. And what I mean by that is we want to make sure the point rail pushes tightly up against both sides of the long rails of the switch. So we'll throw it this way. Oh, that's a nice tight load. See, we can press on this rail and it's tightly up against. We'll throw it this way and that's nice and tight up against that side. So the spring loading is working correctly, and this is a correctly installed spring-loaded ground throw. Being spring-loaded is very important for the next thing we're going to show you, because you may have a mechanical ground throw, but you might also have a control panel, and you'd like to be able to see at a glance whether that turnout is set for straight or for the curved side. Well, here's how you can do that. It's very easy. I want to show you some things that are common to all O-gauge 3-rail switches. This rail right here and this rail right here are insulated. There's a gap here and a gap here so that neither common nor center rail power ever occupies that rail. The reason for that is, as the roller travels through this switch on the curved side, it doesn't want to short out on that, so there's no power whatsoever in that rail. The same thing is true for the point rails here and here. They are also insulated. But with our nice Caboose Industries spring-loaded ground throw, you can force the points to touch the outside common rail for straight here and for curve here. That means that if we attach a wire here and here, we can use that wire to light some light bulbs or LEDs so that we can see on a control panel which way the switch is flipped. Now, because these point rails move back and forth, we want to solder the wire all the way up as close as we can to the fulcrum point. So if you look closely, you'll see I've drilled 2 holes here and here for the wire to go through the table, because we're going to solder the wire all the way up here so the wire doesn't have to move hardly any at all. I've built a little simulated control panel here with a red and green light on it so you can see how nicely this works. Now if you look, here are the holes that we drilled, and I have a wire soldered on here and a wire soldered on here now, and they go down through your train table, and those wires will be connected to these bulbs. On our simulated control panel here, We've got a green bulb and a red bulb. Each of these bulbs has 2 wires. We'll take one wire from each bulb and we'll tie those together. And on that wire tied together, we're going to attach a wire that goes to the transformer to a 14-volt fixed voltage source. The common on the transformer that supplies the 14 volts to the lights has to be attached also to the common of the transformer that is powering the train. That may be the same transformer, but if you have 2 different ones, you have to be sure that the common of each of these transformers is tied together. Now we need to connect the remaining wire on the green light and the remaining wire on the red light. The straight rail on the points go to the green light. So the wire that's soldered onto the straight point rail will attach to the remaining wire on the green bulb, like this. And then the wire from the curved rail will attach to the remaining wire on the red light, like this. To clarify that, here's a wiring diagram to show you what we just did. One wire from each light goes to the 14-volt fixed positive power. One wire from each light goes to this rail and to this rail on the switch. The common is attached to the outer rails of the switch, and that wire supplies common to the light. And here's how it works for real on the switch. Here's the common to the outside rails of the switch, and immediately the red light lights because the track turnout is in the curved position, and this point rail is touching this outer rail. When I move the switch over, watch the light. There's our green light showing that the track turnout's set for straight. And this same little trick works for an Atlas switch machine too. Many of you have asked me how you can get an indicator on the control panel to show which way an Atlas switch machine is flipped. Well, here's where your contact points are. Exactly the same way we did it. We soldered a wire here and here on the 2 point rails, wired it the same over to the control panel, and sure enough, you get the red for the track turnout and the green for the straight. Works pretty well. So whether you have a manual ground throw, like this switch, or whether you have a powered switch machine, like this Atlas switch, this is an easy way to get an indication on the control panel as to which way the turnout is set.